Sweet FA. Let's do Fanny Adams, chat. Man. Like, I want to watch it to learn, but, like, it's a little girl, you know? It dies. Like, that's going to be sad. Is this the Fanny that's your aunt? No. Alright, here we go. This tragic story of Fanny Adams.
Many Brits are familiar with the phrase, Sweet Fanny Adams. The saying has...
Wait, that's I have heard that phrase. Nothing at all. I know Sweet Fanny Adams about the subject, a nautical term for tinned meat or stew. Wait, that's the most, like... You couldn't have two completely different meanings of a word right here. This is the origin? What the heck?
Has been used for over a century and is nowadays often shortened to Sweet FA.
Sweet FA.
Nothing or something worthless. The FA also being swapped out for words.
I would trust this man with my life. Look at this man. I would trust him with my absolute life. The mustache, the beard, the get up.
That make a similar point. Over the decades, the phrase has lived longer in our collective memories than the gruesome case that spawned it. So who was the real Fanny Adams, and why is her name still used over 150 years after her death?
Dang.
Today, we'll find out.
Can y'all hear it? Is it quiet? I bet it's quiet. Hold on. Hold on. Let's try that, chat.
It was April 30th, 1859, and Harriet Adams, she was a middle child with 5 siblings, 3 sisters and 2 brothers. The family lived here in this small market town. This is Alton in Hampshire, and is still today has a small population of just under 18,000. Back then, however, there would have been far fewer people here, but make no mistake.
Damn, I want to fish that. That is fishable right there. That is fishable, yeah. Oh.
Every resident would have been very familiar with everyone else who lived here. Fanny and her family lived here, Tanhouse Lane, her immediate next door neighbours being her grandparents, another close neighbour being her best friend, Minnie Warner. The girls, of course, spending much of their time together. The town of Alton has a long history with beer production, and it's here in this meadow at the end of Tanhouse Lane that back then would have been surrounded by fields all producing hops for the brewery that Fanny, her siblings and her best friend Minnie would often be found playing. By those who knew her, Fanny was described as a tall, comely and intelligent child who always looked happy and loved talking with people. Whenever possible, the little girl stopped to have a conversation with those living in her town. In 1867, Fanny Adams was a fun-loving 8-year-old girl living a simple but comfortable childhood in a safe community, having no worries about tomorrow. Sadly, that all changed one hot and stifling Saturday. That day, August 24th, 1867, seemed like any other day in Alton. Fanny was playing with Minnie as usual, along with her 5-year-old sister, Lizzie. The trio had been spending most of their morning in the Adams garden, but eventually wanted to change the scenery. And so Fanny asked her mother, Harriet, for permission to go to play in the nearby flood meadow. Harriet, who was busy with housework that day, did not have any reason not to let the girls go. After all, Fanny and her friends and siblings had been playing in the fields and meadows numerous times before without problems. Everyone in the town looked out for each other, and the fields were a short distance away. So, what's the worst that could happen? And so Fanny and her sister...
See, I've lived in neighborhoods like that, chat, where, like, everybody, like, looked out for everybody, you know? Like, you could send your kids all the way down the road to play with some other kids, and you would know that, like, their parents or the neighbor would be watching them and, like, keeping an eye on them, making sure they're okay, you know? Those are, like, the best, like, towns to live in.
Lizzie and Minnie set off for the flood meadow. As they made their way in, the 3 girls were suddenly approached by a man dressed in a black frock coat, light waistcoat and trousers, and a tall hat. The man in question had lived in the town for just 2 months or so, but Fanny and the other 2 girls already knew him from church. He was 29-year-old Frederick Baker. As the girls believed Frederick to be a respectable man, they did not mind stopping and having a chat with him.
Me too, Shane. I'm getting a bad vibe from this dude. Bad vibe.
However, after some time, Frederick made a rather strange proposal. He asked if Fanny would accompany him on the walk to the neighbouring village of Sheldon.
Dude, I hate weirdos like this. Bro. Because you already know Fanny, she trusted this dude. You know, she's probably never met it. She's never met a stranger in her life, you know. She knows everybody. She talks to everybody. She trusts everybody. Exactly. Look at that. That is not a short walk. But she didn't know any better. And probably her friends probably didn't either. Because this is a dude, like you said, from church. She's seen him before. She's maybe even talked to him before. Their parents might know him, or like her parents might know him. Sickening. Makes me sick to my stomach.
Understandably, Fanny wanted to stay with her little sister and her friend, so she refused.
Yeah, and like yeah, exactly. It's the 1800s. It's not even like 2020, you know. Like it's not even the 2000s or whatever. Or no, like it's a while ago, so like everybody knew everybody. Yeah, but way before stranger danger, exactly.
Taking no as an answer, Frederick then offered her 1/2 penny to stay with the village of Sheldon. Understandably, Fanny wanted to stay with her little sister and her friend, so she refused. Not taking no as a
good for Fanny. She actually tried to refuse.
With her little sister and her friend, so she refused. Not taking no as an answer, Frederick then offered her 1/2 penny if the young girl would walk with him, but again, Fanny refused. At this point, Baker turned his attention to Minnie and Lizzie, to whom he now offered 3 halfpennies to go and buy some sweets. However, they were determined to stay together with Fanny.
What's good, Amsterdam? What's good, bro? I appreciate you. Welcome. Welcome. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Minnie and Lizzie, to whom he now offered 3 halfpennies to go and buy some sweets. However, they were determined to stay together with Fanny. Realizing he was not able to trick the girls with money, Frederick forgot persuasion altogether and just used the evident advantage he had over the girls, his size and strength. And so Frederick picked the helpless Fanny up and carried her away, quickly disappearing into the hops fields, leaving Minnie and Lizzie in disbelief at what had just happened.
So he tried to like convince them, like, hey, I'll give you some money to go. Oh, that ain't enough? I'll give you more money. That didn't work. So he's like, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to snatch her up in front of the other kids and just go. Appreciate you, Amsterdam. Amsterdam. This is ridiculous. This is so, like, this is nasty. I hate this man. Absolutely, truly hate him.
Not knowing what to do, the 2 girls ran as fast as they could to Minnie's house to tell the story to Minnie's mother, Martha Warner. However, her reaction was not as you would expect. There had been no crime in Alton and Martha's lifetime, let alone child abduction. So, obviously, her daughter was just joking around or playing some sort of game. Seeing her mother's calm reaction, Minnie herself eventually came to the conclusion that Fanny was safe with Frederick after all. They had just been...
Dude. Dude. Wow. She was like, oh, there's not weirdos here. That kind of stuff doesn't happen. I'm sure she's fine with some random man that offered her money to go to the next town, but she wouldn't take it, so he just snatched her up and took her. Oh, she's fine.
Worried for nothing. And so she and Lizzie went back outside to play in the Warner garden until Lizzie had to head back home for dinner at around 5 p.m. At this point, Fanny had been gone for more than 3 hours.
Wow.
On her way home, Lizzie met one of the family neighbours, Mrs. Gardner, who immediately asked the little girl where she had left her sister. As Lizzie told the story of what happened earlier, Mrs. Gardner immediately knew something was terribly wrong. She took Lizzie back home as quickly as she could, where the 5-year-old finally shared the information with her and Fanny's mother. Harriet could not believe what she heard. A man had forcibly taken her daughter. Extremely worried, Harriet and Mrs. Gardner went out in search of Fanny. While there were no signs of the 8-year-old, they quickly came across somebody else, Frederick Baker.
Did she... Wait. They came across him? Did she not have a dad? Or was he, like, off at work or something? They came across the dude.
They quickly came across somebody else, Frederick Baker. He was alone. Knowing that this man had been the last person to see Fanny, Mrs. Gardner asked bluntly what Frederick had done with the girl.
Not just the last to see her, he took her. He abducted her.
To which he answered, claiming he had simply given her some money for sweets and left her at the gate of the town. Mrs. Gardner and Harriet didn't believe a word Frederick had said, with Mrs. Gardner stating, "I have a great mind to give you in charge of the police."
Yeah.
Baker replied, telling her she could do what she liked.
I would have
As a
instantly done
solicitor's
it.
clerk, Baker felt his social standing could easily deflect any accusations made by the two women.
Wow.
As they had only the children's story to go by, the pair returned to Adam's home.
And you know, back then, nobody would have believed them too. Back then, that's how it was. Like women and kids they'd say they like created the story or something, you know? Just because he was a man, they would believe him. That's crazy. That's so messed up. But that's how it was. Wow.
The hope that Fanny would return unharmed. As hours began to pass with no sign of the little girl returning home, a search party was put together. Several neighbours and other townspeople, in addition to Harriet, followed the same route the 3 girls had taken earlier that day. They searched the hollow, a lane between the hops fields, but Fanny was not there.
Kids were seen as property back then? That's ridiculous. I've been looking for JT and Anna on Spotify. We ain't there yet.
Searched the hollow, a lane between the hops fields, but Fanny was not there. Next, they went through the fields themselves, but again, no sign of the 8-year-old. That was until labourer Thomas Gates, a veteran of the Crimean War, came across a scene as gruesome as any he had seen on the battlefield. In one of the fields there lay, perched atop 2 hop poles, the severed and mutilated head of a child. Hearing the news, Harriet became frantic. In a town that small, it was not possible the head belonged to anybody other than her daughter. It had to be Fanny. Heartbroken, Harriet tried to run to her husband, who at that time was playing cricket. But on her way there...
Man. Yo. They found her head on a stake. And the entire time his daughter was missing, being abducted, and then murdered, this man was playing cricket. Like if he was at work or something, I'd understand. But the man was playing cricket. Yo. If I remember, it's all they ever... No. That is crazy.
She collapsed, overpowered by grief and exhaustion. Still, the news of Fanny's death found George, who immediately returned home, took his shotgun and headed out with the intention to find the person who had done this to his
As he should. As he should.
daughter. His family and neighbours were able to disarm him and calm
Revenge won't bring her back, but hey.
him down enough to prevent him from doing anything irrevocable. When the details of what had happened to Fanny began to be revealed, nobody could really blame George for wanting to take the law into his own hands. After searching the fields where Fanny's head had been found, police were left with a package labelled "Portions of a Child." There was no doubt they were investigating the most brutal crime in the living memory of the town. It would take several days before all the parts of Fanny's body were finally recovered. They were initially brought here, which back then would be the Leathern Bottle Public House. Thereafter they were taken to the local police station, where the body was reassembled. By then, of course,
there's a ghost in that window. Chat, y'all see the ghost in the window? Look at it.
Station, where the
Yo!
body was reassembled.
That's a full body apparition.
By then, of course,
look at it.
The killer had already been apprehended.
Look at the ghost, chat.
After the discovery of Fanny's remains on August 24th, the police had gone to Frederick Baker's office around 9 p.m. based on the eyewitness accounts. Of course, Frederick protested at first, claiming he was innocent.
She wasn't the first girl he killed? No.
But as there were no other suspects, he was arrested then and there. At the station, police found 2 small, unstained knives in Frederick's possession, in addition to bloodstains on his shirt and trousers.
It was him!
At this point, the case against Frederick Baker looked already quite solid. But the final nail in the coffin was found the following day. While searching the solicitor's office, somewhere hidden in Frederick's desk, the police found a diary. It contained a chilling entry. 24th of August, Saturday, killed a young girl. It was fine and hot.
Bro. I don't even know what to say to that. That is disgusting. Yo. Literally not like, I don't like, ugh. He needs to be under the prison. Under the prison. Like, ugh.
3 days after Fanny's death, the inquest was held here, which was then the Duke's Head Inn. That was under the Deputy Coroner for Hampshire, as required by English law at the time. It was concluded that Fanny died between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. although her cause of death was now impossible to say with any certainty.
Yes, Misty, yeah.
As such, Fanny Adams' death certificate simply states the cause of death as being injuries inflicted by Frederick Baker.
Wow.
During this initial inquest, Mrs. Gardner, Fanny's mother, Harriet, and Minnie Warner were asked to give details of their story. Baker remained unfazed.
Do Jack the Ripper next? You know, I don't think I've ever really learned the full story of Jack the Ripper. We could. The Moors? Huh.
And even corrected Minnie by stating he had given them 3 halfpence instead of 2. The inquest found Baker responsible for the murder but the trial still had...
Bro murdered a child, wrote it in his diary, and he's worried about them making sure, hey, I gave him more money than that. The James Bulger case? Why is that bad? 100% not? Is it bad? Really bad? Super bad? Oh goodness, yeah, no, never mind. Bulger. Yeah, true, Ryan. Yeah. Really bad? Yeah, we can't do that one then. I might watch it off stream. I want to know how bad it is. Oh goodness, yeah, no, never mind. Oh yeah, no, I'm good on that. No.
had to occur, and so it began.
So bad, only 20% of what happened is public. Oh my goodness. Google it? I'm scared. I don't want to see it. I'll just let y'all tell me about it. Oh. And from what I'm seeing, I don't want to know about it.
And at Winchester Assizes on December the 5th, 1867. Throughout his time in court, Frederick remained calm and collected, denying he had anything to do with the murder of the 8-year-old. Yet his defense tried the criminally insane angle, as Frederick's family had a history of mental illness. In the end, the court decided that there was no evidence to support the claim. But there was more than enough evidence against Frederick, including a new eyewitness. A young boy had come forward saying he had seen Frederick on the day of Fanny's death, covered in blood, washing his hands and 2 small objects down the river.
Yo.
There were not many questions left at this point. And so, after just 15 minutes of deliberation, Frederick Baker was found guilty by the jury of the murder of Fanny Adams. He was sentenced to death.
Let's go.
It is reported that before his death, Frederick wrote a letter to Harriet and George Adams, expressing his remorse and seeking their forgiveness.
Man, get out of here.
Christmas Eve, 1867, Frederick Baker was hanged at the Winchester jail in front of over 5,000 people, the majority of which were women and children. Little Fanny Adams was laid to rest at Alton Cemetery, located near her home. Her headstone was erected by voluntary subscription, as townspeople were determined not to let Fanny's story be forgotten.
No.
However, nobody back then could have guessed the name of the brutally murdered girl would eventually morph into a phrase still used today.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The originators of the term Sweet Fanny Adams were sailors in the British Royal Navy who came to use the expression to refer to their newly issued rations of tinned mutton. They likened this unpleasant tinned meat to Fanny Adams' remains, and over time the term Sweet Fanny Adams became slang for poor meat, scarce left.
Okay, that's kind of messed up. That's kind of messed up. Hello? Bro, my headphones just beeped like 72 times. Like, if you're talking about, like, if you say Sweet Fanny Adams about not knowing nothing, okay. Like, that's okay. But talking about canned meat, that's pretty messed up. Wow.
And eventually, nothing or things without worth. This phrase and its meaning is in stark contrast to the life of the bright and friendly Fanny Adams, whose life was tragically stolen on that fateful summer's day in 1860.
No, okay, I love this man. I love this man. This dude right here in this video, I love him. No way he actually brought flowers to her grave. Wow. I love this man.
67. So how do you feel about the phrase? Do you think we should stop using it?
If you're talking about canned meat, yes. But if you're like the not knowing nothing about whatever, I don't care about that one. But the canned meat's messed up. Talking about her, ooh.
Or do you think its use has helped Fanny's story persist all these years later.
That is true. It will keep her going, though. You know. As long as you're not using it for the canned meat and using it for the not knowing nothing, then it will keep her story going and make sure she stays remembered, but still.
Let us know in the comments box below.
Hey, I love this man right here. Subscribed, liked. Love this man. Wow.